Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world today. At this moment, it is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I am right now, and I would like to talk to you tonight about losing your religion. If you're like me, you grew up in organized religion, and it was quite the experience. It was full of a lot of community, it was full of a lot of trauma. Because built within that particular organized religion that I was a part of was all kinds of fear that I think were intended to do two things at least. One was, of course, to cause your behavior to shift and change, and also that fear was put in place for you to be controllable. And that's always the argument, really, that it comes down to is the reason that organized religion uses the fear tactic is to keep you under the thumb of those who are in the top. It's a gigantic pyramid, and you are on the bottom of it. And a lot of us, no matter whether you're part of the Abrahamic traditions or something else, or the most people I think would fall under those three of Islam, of Judaism, and of Christianity as your organized religion experience growing up. And mine was Protestant Christianity. There are many flavors, many flavors of Christianity, especially off of Protestantism. And I had a particular flavor of Baptist. And in Baptist, let's see, you couldn't dance because that leads to sex, which leads to pregnancy. So dancing leads to pregnancy. Right there, just skip the middle ingredients. Pregnancy equals dancing, dancing equals pregnancy. Couldn't drink anything, even though everybody was closet drinking or not so closet drinking that was going to your church. It was a strange situation of you go to an aisle, say a prayer, go to an altar where there is no altar, and say a prayer of commitment and acceptance. And then you have this magical union into the club of Christianity. In the Baptist church, you couldn't lose your salvation, was the way it was worded, but you better be good just in case because God might smack you anyway. So that was pretty much the nutshells of Baptist organized religion. And all of you probably have other different areas that you came from. And I've had clients over the years. I had one in particular who was Islam. Then she converted to, she was from Pakistan, I believe. Then she converted over to Christianity, to charismatic flavoring of Christianity. A whole different little beast. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm not here to talk about what you might have been caught up in and or what you're even in right now, but debating on whether you want to stay in it or not. Because there's a few of you I know that are in that place. You're like, I'm almost out, at least in my mind and heart, I'm almost out. Maybe the people around me don't know that, but that's definitely where I am. And it's just going to take one more thing to either push and or pull me out, and I'm done. So for a lot of people, I've noticed when they make that decision to leave, they will do what I did, which was I basically tried to clear the whole entire spiritual table. I just want to take all of it and move all of the restrictions I had felt my entire life off the table. But I also found that very difficult to do. Very difficult. And I set kind of like a field that's not being used for crops. I set fallow for a couple of years. And I needed that time away from what I had left because I went from Baptist to non-denominational, which is basically Baptist theology with a different hierarchical setup in the actual church of that location. And then I went over to Orthodox and Orthodox Christianity. And then when there was no energy that I could feel in that Eucharistic cup, it's like, what am I doing? That's the whole point of this. What makes this one special is you're supposed to be and in the throne room of God, and everything leads up to this altar experience where you're walking to an altar where there actually is some sort of altar, and you are taking this content of this cup that's been prayed over now this entire service, and the Holy Spirit has come and imbued this water and wine and bread with transformational spiritual food. That was the idea. That's what you were told. I got to the cup, and over and over and over again for 5 years, nothing. I couldn't perceive anything in the cup. I needed to get away from all that. I needed time to just pull away from it and be able to start to examine it without the recent infusion of the energy of it, as unsatisfactory as it was, it also was still in me. And so I had to purge it from me so I could get a clearer view and perspective on what I had been a part of for the majority of my life. And so I didn't go anywhere. I wasn't agnostic, I wouldn't say. I certainly wasn't an atheist. I just wasn't sure what to do with what I'd been doing for decades, half-heartedly for a lot of it, and then what I was experiencing then. Because when I got out of it, it wasn't like I was leaving everything behind, the idea that there was something that was unseen with power. I had known for many, many years, every single day with direct experience, that there was something with absolute power that was unseen. You would never convince me that this entire existence is, one, by all by chance, and then two, that it was without any kind of unseen infrastructure. My training is Chinese medicine, and I went to the Academy for Five Element Acupuncture in Florida to Five Element Acupuncture in Florida. I'll say that more clearly. And I got out of that knowing that would be a gateway into other pursuits. And that background really did serve to be a pretty large background for how I saw the unseen world, because I'd had the idea of chi, and chi is in everything. And I love this. I'm going to take a real quick break because I'm going to put Laura. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put your statement here up on the screen so everybody can see this. Laura says, I went the opposite way from Orthodox. I didn't know this, Laura. From Orthodox to non-denominational to no religion. And I never felt closer to my source connection in what you call the unseen infrastructure. Thank you for saying that. That's really cool. I did not know that you were Orthodox. We probably have a few things to talk about. So I like that. Thank you for presenting that. And my unseen contact daily had been happening ever since I had been introduced. You know what? Actually, I was going to say something, but it's not actually true. When I was taking martial arts in my early 22 years of age, yeah, that's about right. I was in a class with a teacher who was giving us some chi experiments, to help feel energy in your hands, but he wasn't teaching us how to really cultivate it, which was unfortunate because that's such a bedrock of any kind of martial art if you have a good practice going on. But he was teaching us how to do some things to feel it, and I felt it easily. And he saw that and told me, you sense energy apparently very easily. News to me. I wasn't even sure exactly what he was talking about, but I did feel what was happening in my hands, and we were doing some experiments, and I was the one in the room that seemed to, one of probably a few who felt it. So that stuck in my head. And many years later, when I went to acupuncture school, none of my teachers talked about feeling it. My teachers that were on site at that academy, they taught you how to take pulses and feel the energy as it presents through the pulse picture on both wrists, on the radial nerve, or radial vessel. And that was great. That's fine. That's a way of feeling energy, but it's still feeling energy through a physical conduit, the blood flow through my vessels. Anybody can do that. So that really wasn't exactly satisfactory either, because I wasn't getting any of even what I got in martial arts, which was the non-contact feeling of something that's unseen that has power. So whenever Paul Frazier, you probably won't see this, but I always want to give Paul credit, when he showed up at the school, the academy, as an adjunct teacher to teach us some Tai Chi and some Qigong forms, because it's part of the school's curriculum and part of the accreditation of the school and part of the national board's requirement, I hit it off with him, and he invited me up to study with him, the whole class, but I'm the one I think who showed up first. If I'm not sure how many actually ever showed up to study with him, which was crazy because he's so good. And he taught me Pongu Gong, the Qigong form that he held up with primacy. Is that the word I'm looking for? After studying over 40 of them around the world, he said, this is the one. Out of all the ones I've studied, this is the one. And that's the one I felt in my hands, and then eventually in my whole body. I would even think about, like even right now, to start doing the form or saying the password phrase of take kindness and benevolence as basis, take frankness and friendliness to heart, speak with reason, treat with courtesy, act with emotion, and accomplish results, I would start to say that password phrase, which is the summary of the point and purpose of that Qigong form, and my whole body starts to tingle. Even when I think about it at this point, saying it, everything lights up. Very unseen. The reason I actually went to Orthodoxy from Protestantism is because when I read about the early church first, read history, realized what I'd been doing had nothing to do with very little to do with the early church, and that Orthodoxy still had the most evidence of that early church experience alive today. So I went in there and felt the icons, right? These are the pieces of artwork that are written that are capturing either different saints of the church or different scenes, biblical stories, capturing those stories in a picture, an icon. And there often would be a little relic, maybe a piece of bone or a fragment of cloth that came from a monastic person typically. And I could feel the energy of the prayers and the refinement of soul and spirit, you could say, from the writers of those icons. And I could certainly feel the energy off of some, if not almost all, of those little relics that were often there under glass in the parish. Got my attention, right? Because that's what I was looking for. I'm like, look, I've got this Qigong practice, ladies and gentlemen, that I've had since Paul taught it to me. And it is absolutely captured my attention as I cultivate this energy every day. And this energy, this is my main point, folks. Catch me. Don't lose me here. Stay tight. Don't leave. My connection with the infinite creator, the unmoved mover, the uncreated creator, was always there because every time I did this form, my body would light up with chi signs. Now, having energy signs, chi signs doing Qigong doesn't mean that it is or isn't working. But it's nice to have them as a confirmation, and it feels really good when it's going on. And so every day, without doubt, when I would do this form for hours a day collectively, I would be bathed in that unseen power. And when I talk about feeling energy, people go, especially guys will do this. Oh, your feelings? It's about your emotions, Keith. I'm like, well, you ignorant little puss. It's not about emotions. Feeling means sensation. It is the having experience of unseen power, meaning I can't see it with my physical eyes. In this physical human form, I'm able to feel the interaction with this body and this unseen force. Could there be emotions involved in the experience? Could be. But that's not what I mean by feeling. I'm sensing it. If I touch this wall behind me and feel the fabric on the wall, it has a sensation because of the nerve endings in my fingertips. I'm feeling the fabric of this tapestry. I'm feeling the energy in my hands, my skin on the outside of my body, the organ systems inside my body, the tongue against the roof of my mouth, creating a little connection of the circuit, the major channels in the body, in my eyeballs, my forehead, everywhere, my hair follicles. All of that is involved in the feeling. But that wasn't the most convincing piece, that there was some kind of beautiful, massively powerful force. Two other reasons how I knew that I may have thrown out and left the organized religion, but I wasn't leaving a spiritual pursuit. I couldn't, because of that daily experience. And when it came time to treat people, every single time I wanted to work on somebody, the energy would show up because I would ask for the assistance needed to help bring this person into a place of healing so their body could do what it was designed to do. And every single time, that energy would move through me. I wasn't conjuring it up. Now, I had practiced daily to certainly build up a storehouse of it in my body, my connective tissue, my muscles, so on, in my field, and also to broaden the ability to move more of it through me. I call it bandwidth. Over time, it gets bigger and bigger, and what you can move through you. And the quality of it seems to change as hopefully you are refining yourself through the practice and the way you conduct your life. So all of that was there and dependable every time. Now, I didn't always have the outcome I would like to have with the client, and that wasn't always, of course, up to me. It's a dance you do when you treat someone. What is their receptivity? What is their true, deepest want, desire for an outcome? Because sometimes people tell you, oh, I really want to get better. I'd love to be healed from this. But deep down inside, some people, they don't even want to stick around. They're ready to go. They're ready to give up this physical experience. Or the illness is serving some other purpose for them, and they really don't want to let go of it, because if they let go of it, then they lose the benefits that they're receiving from other people from having it. So it takes a cooperative effort for people to get in that sweet spot of healing and to actually make a recovery. But the thing that I always try to teach people is, well, if you want to empower yourself to keep this movement of this beautiful life force that's everywhere around us and infinite moving into your body in grand quantities to really put you in that sweet spot of healing, you need to do the Qigong form that I'm doing every day for yourself. And there's an extra administering of that energy when you do it for yourself, as opposed to me just treating you. And every time I would teach that form, somebody, either in person or online on Zoom, like I do now almost every time it's on Zoom, I would feel another kind of extra energy moving through me that would be then imparted to the student. I didn't conjure it up. I didn't twist a dial and go, well, now it's time to teach a student. I'm going to take my little power dial. It's right here in my left nipple. I just give it a little tweak, and then the energy shifts, and I can teach people Qigong, and the energy changes to infuse them. I just want to make sure you remember it. If I mention my nipple, you're going to remember that little statement. You'll never forget it now. All right? Little shock, little awe. But it happened every time. That energy always showed up every single time as dependable, more dependable than anything or anyone in my life was the energy showing up that fed my body, my heart, and my soul while I did the form and when I taught somebody and when I treated somebody. The most dependable thing ever, as dependable as the sun keeps shining every day, whether the clouds obscure it or not, it's there doing its thing. And so for me, that was my proof that something powerful and unseen was very much at work. Rob Coventry says, Rob, can I put yours up here? I want to put yours up here. So that's right, Rob. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion, trying to keep up with you. And I don't know if I can do it. Oh, no, I've said too much. I haven't said enough. Thank you for the song quote, Rob. I just needed to put it up there. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, and that's my question, right, folks? What did you do if you walked away? What did you do? Because for me, I knew the pursuit wasn't over. I just knew it wasn't going to be found within the confines, and I do mean confined, the confines of an organization. I mean, even my Qigong teacher, Master Owen Wei, who I think is the most fulfilled and the most fully formed, fulfilled potential human I've ever met. Nobody comes close. Not one person comes as close to being fully developed as a human being as Master O does. And I don't mean just I've met in person. I've seen in a picture, or I've seen in a video, or had someone mention to me, because what I do is I tap in and feel the person. I don't have to have you in a room. And I can feel some basic things. It's not like I know you intimately because I just feel your energy, but I know enough to go, wow, this person's done a lot of development or not energetically. I can tell enough to go that something's happening here or not a whole lot or something in between. And so for Master O, when I felt him, I knew, I'm like, wow, that's what's possible. How in the Sam Hill did you do this? Besides this moving form that I learned from Paul, from you, how did you do that? Who are you to create something as powerful as this, to start opening up the gateways inside of me to allow the power, the essential life of the universe to move into my body ever more, ever more, ever more in quantity and quality every single day, changing me? How did you do that? How are you tapped in that way? So for me, even though for 2 years I've kind of felt burnout and raw, and I wasn't willing to even talk about spirituality much, but I was doing this every day for 3+ hours, and it was continually keeping me going and alive and able to do the work I wanted to do, and still helping me to mature faster because of that imbuing of this beautiful power of is, was, and will always be God. See, that's the thing I had to come to conclusion that what I'd been doing that had no actual structure other than an introduction from Master O, which, he had his, I didn't finish my thought earlier. He had his experience. He's written his experience in books. I've read those books over and over and over again, but that's still his experience. And I've told that to him in class. Your books are great, man. What a story. I can feel the power in them of your experience, but it's still not my experience. I'm impressed with what you have going on because of you, not because of your books. If you didn't embody what's described in those books, what's the point of the books? They're empty. They're meaningless. You have to be walking what's being described. You have to live it for me to have any respect for it. I do not give human beings automatic respect. I give you courtesy. I respect that you're a fellow human being, but I don't know anything about you. So how could I possibly respect you without having some time spent with you for you to show me how you live your life consistently, what your character's life, how do you operate under pressure? Who are you then? Then the respect is built. But until then, it's courtesy. I respect Master O more than anybody because he's so consistent with who he is and how he lives his life. That's what I want. I want the expansiveness inside because I can feel it's like the bigger he got inside his chest, his field, the more he was filled with God. That unmoved mover. He's a much better conduit than anybody I know of. Again, nobody comes close to what moves through that man, at least that I'm looking for. So, folks, what did you do? If you left your religion, what did you do? Because the automatic default of, well, I became an atheist. I could see that maybe happening as your default position after leaving it for a short while if you were burned, which is usually why people leave. And I don't know that I was really burned. Maybe some. I exhausted everything it had to offer me. There's nothing left to go to. So I just walked out. I was done. But I wasn't an atheist. Was I agnostic? Was I refusing to define God? Well, yes, you could say that because I do believe that Taoism's probably, if you had to put a label to me on what I am, which still wouldn't be correct, you could say I'm sort of a Taoist, meaning I believe that the Tao, if you name the Tao, it isn't the Tao because that unmoved mover cannot be contained and described by a name or descriptors. Well, now look. Give me a list of your of who you think God is. Give me a list of all the characteristics of God. Let me see what you call God and describe God. Let me read it. Oh, I'm sorry. I've read your description, and that that does not fit really my description of who God is. Your God is not my God. My God is much more completely described and defined. Therefore, my God is better than your God. You're serving a false God, which means you're probably serving Satan, the dark one. Wow. Again, that unnameable infinite force cannot be named and contained by the name, described by the descriptors. You can't do it. Nobody has that description name cornered. So yes, in that way, am I a Taoist? Do I feel the yang energy, that moving force in my life, around me, in great nature? Yes. Do I feel the cooling, soothing, rooted yin energy, feminine energy? Do I feel that at times? More than I used to. I've had to develop that because, like the culture we've grown up in here, our lives are defined by how much you can accomplish and produce. Yang, 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 go, go, go. Why don't you get some ADHD medication? You can't seem to produce like we need you to and like we expect you to every day. You need some medication so you can really focus and do more doing. And yang, 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 go, go, go. With no respect or any kind of acknowledgement of how important the other side is, which is to rest and to go in and restore and to be calm. We don't stress that as being important in this culture. Not very much. We play around the edges of it. But you're only worth something if you can produce more. What have you done for me in your production today? Yesterday was fine, the day before I've forgotten. But what's most important is right now, are you continually producing more? So we can acknowledge you for that, for right now, until we need more tomorrow. How about some time off? No time for time off. We don't have time to rest and relax. In fact, if you go on vacation, I want you thinking about what you need to do the whole time you're gone and how you're not doing it. Thanks for playing. This is called life. Go, 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 do, do, do. We are not in balance, but I can feel the importance of that going in and arresting. In fact, Master O, of course, recognizes that. The moving form that we do every day, the moving form that we do, which has that formation of using movements to trigger what I call energetic software, meaning you're doing something with your hands, but that isn't where the power is. It's what that activates that starts an unseen activation of an energy infusion because he set it up that way. And when you go to the right-hand side, left-hand side is the sun. There's your yang energy. Right-hand side is the moon. So you're activating now this huge influx of yin energy. And then you're combining them together right here to harmonize that within you. So much more is going on than just that, but that's the very superficial description. And there's a non-moving form that he created. Why? Well, he recognized, one, that Mao Zedong's reign of power and terror and the Cultural Revolution had wiped out the acknowledgement that anybody had a soul in China. The Chinese had had that wiped from their cultural memory that we have a soul. They were atheists because they were forced into it. When Mastro realized that his fellow Chinese citizens didn't have any understanding of a soul, he created a non-moving form to wake that up. It just so happens when I do that non-moving form, and most people who do it, you go into an immediate, well, soon after you start doing it, if you're lying down especially, it pulls you into the deepest meditative yin state. And all of this energy floods into your body, and you go into this deep nervous system, emotional, psychological restoration phase. And you can feel that yin energy so clearly. A lot of people I teach it to, I think, don't really do it that much because they get frustrated because they can't tell what they're doing and what it's doing. And they don't get it right because they keep passing out and going to this meditative state where they lose count and lose where they are, which is how it's designed, in my opinion. And it restores, to me, it restores that yin energy. And to me, that yang and yin that are the dance that we live in this form, the dance we see around us in nature, that was birthed from that Tao, that unmoved mover, that unnameable force, from where everything comes and is sustained. It's all of it. But Keith, that seems so impersonal. Don't you want to have a personal God, a personal Messiah, a personal Savior in your life that you can talk to and that can bring you solace and comfort? Don't you want that, Keith? Don't you want a God that's been humanized, anthropomorphized? Don't you want a God that's just like you, but like God? Well, not really. I tried that route. But Keith, Jesus is the only way we have a connection to God, because we must have that human model in front of us to relate to show us what that looks like, so that we can use that as a template to drive our spiritual progress into being like Jesus. Yes, I know. I've heard that since I was a child. And I've done my best to tap into the morphic field of Jesus's life. Amazing. I do believe that Jesus walked the earth. I don't believe Jesus was created for some type of project to control humanity. And now, has the idea of Jesus been used to control humanity, certain portions? Yeah, sure. Every good martyr can be used in that way. Do I think he was a beautiful example of what it means to be more fully human? Yeah, I do. But do I believe that 66 books written by people, well, not all those, that's Old Testament too, there, isn't it? But the New Testament alone, written many, many years after his life, well, they were guided by the hand of God, Keith. That is the immutable word of God written by the hands of his disciples. Okay, I don't know those guys. They're not personal friends of mine. I didn't know them. I like to know people if they write something, if I can, to really go, wow, I really understand the author because I had conversations with them. You see what I'm saying? I never was a good student of the book, a good follower of the book. I would have been a horrible Muslim as well. I wouldn't have been like all about the book. I am about the experience. But Keith, you can't trust the experience. That's where spirituality is a trap. That's the new age trap, Keith, is experience. What are you, a Gnostic? Well, sorta. It has to be my experience if I'm going to own it. And I went to charismatic services when I was in my Christian walk. I went in there when they would sing and sing the same thing over and over and over again, over and 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 over. And you're like, oh my gosh, move the heck on. You're saying the same 10 words 50 times. That's not making it any better for me. It's not going to drill the message into my head any better. I'm just getting angry because you're superficial. But Keith, you're going to have the Holy Spirit come down and even baptize you. You're going to speak in tongues, and you're going to fall out on the floor and have some holy laughter. Never happened. Sang in a lot of those churches. We're going to put our hands on you right now and pray on you, Keith, that the Holy Spirit will come and just anoint you and anoint your life so that you can have the power of God moving through you right now. Yep, had that done. But that wasn't what I wanted. I did want intimacy. And intimacy did not have to come in me imagining God in a human form. Or, Rob, you could sell out mega churches. If I had an evil and enough temptation in my body, Rob, maybe I might do it. I wanted to bathe in that beautiful transformational power. And I was already doing it. Now, am I a really bad Taoist monk? Yes, because I have not tamed the desires, the needs, the wants. But I want more. I want more experience. I want more of that beautiful bathing experience. It's not done yet. I haven't grown out of my wanting. That feeling. I haven't grown out of that yet. I'm working to make that my daily life, but I'm not there. But I'm okay with that right now overall, because I think that that's going to come soon enough that I don't have the want anymore. So I don't know what you've done with this. I haven't turned to the Galactic Federation to talk to the Council of Aliens that are waiting for humanity to finally raise our elevate our frequency high enough first and move from 3D to 4D. You skip over 4D because that's a bridge. I'm sorry, into 5D, so we can then join the Galactic Federation of whatever's planets, species, aliens, whatever, and we can then move into the next phase of human existence. That has not been my experience. I've heard the theories, I've read the theories, I've had people really push those theories on me, and oh, Keith, if only you could just activate your pineal gland, it'll all be different now. You're gonna see what I'm seeing. If your pineal gland can be decalcified, and you can finally tune in to the experience that's really happening right in front of you, all around you, you just don't know it. Well, I have studied the principles of Taoism enough to know that you're leaving out some major points in your ascension process. If you're going to do the Taoist way, you first have to do the thing that I don't feel hardly anybody doing: cultivate some energy regularly, dependably, diligently every day, and filling up this lower tank full of it. And then that will start moving up the Chong Mai vessel, and it'll be purified like you're steaming water, and that steam comes up and it's purified, the impurities are pulled out, and it gets more and more refined. It moves in the chest, and then it changes there, and eventually it moves up into the head and then activates the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the midbrain area. It activates everything. Activates your third eye, your pineal gland, your yin tong, and activates all kinds of energy above your head. That's the idea overall in that model. So all you people out there who just keep talking about the pineal gland, and then I feel your energy and you've got nothing going on down here. You're not doing anything. I mean, that sounds like it's like half the package. Maybe we could swap information. You could listen to me too. When I tell you that you feel like little blips that you're barely existing because you're not cultivating much energy at all outside of the average person, which most people suck when it comes to how much energy life force they're holding. And that is what our Qigong teacher Mastro told everybody. Guys, you're running like on fumes. You're 1/10,000th of the power that you should be having, the divine energy that you could be wielding in your life. You don't have it going on. I don't care how good you feel and how much better you feel now than you did yesterday or a year ago. Good job. But we're talking about maximizing our potential, not getting out of being sick only. So nobody I'm finding that I meet really has everything figured out. Mastro's the closest, I felt, because I want his experience. Does he see things beyond the physical material world? Absolutely. Does he see into what possibly can happen in the future? He certainly has written about it and talked about it. I would say absolutely. Does he see the true history of our past? I think he does, which is a mystery to most of us. No, Keith, you don't understand. I went on an ayahuasca weekend there in Peru, and I took the ayahuasca, and before I shit my brains out and threw up everywhere, I had visions before and after, and I want you to know, I now know exactly what's happened and where we're going. Maybe you do. Your experience, I don't know. And that's my point to all of this. Maybe you've got it figured out. Maybe you know how you want to feel and you want your connection to be like with the eternal everything that is. And if you've got that and you're satisfied with that, cool, go for it. As long as you're not feeling restricted, go for it. I don't have it figured out, but I'm always looking. In fact, you could argue if you followed me around, I don't get nearly enough done, yang energy. I don't get enough done in any day. I'm always falling behind. Angel gets more done than I do every day, pretty much, well, most days. She'll get more things. If there's a list, she's going to get more done than I will and hit those boxes that needed to be done on the list. I'm always, not saying that she doesn't do this, she's just more efficient at it than I am. I'm always feeling and seeking and searching and activating and exploring and asking questions and feeling what comes back to me when I ask the questions because, folks, the idea of spirituality that, again, I've said this a few times in broadcasts and writing, the heavens aren't out there. God is not out there. Spirituality isn't out there. This is it. We just have to, I think, possibly shift our focus or activate something inside of us that's dormant that would allow us to be able to perceive more of what's here right now. This is heaven. This is hell. It's everything. All right here. I really suspect that's probably the case, but I don't know because I don't have a complete, perfect, direct experience of all of that. But I've had enough of this and that here and there around me to know that it ain't out there somewhere. It's right here. There's no two-tier universe. There is no secular and there is no spiritual. It's just spiritual expression, period. And how tangible it is, how intangible it is all energetic. It is all eternal. It will never cease. You'll never cease. I had one dream, and I'll leave you with this. I told Angel this. I said, I had a dream the other night. I could feel my dad, who died last year. I could feel him around me a lot more recently. On me. I could feel him, a refined aspect, a refined version of him, a really beautiful, without all the things that used to drive me crazy aspects about him, that version on me. I've had a few dreams about him lately, but the latest dream, we were going to some type of an event. And Merlin, Porter Arts, don't go anywhere. I'll address that in 2 seconds, okay? All right? So just give me 2 seconds. I do want to address that. So in the dream, we didn't look like this. You could see it through our eyes that it was us. But the facial shape, the hair coloring, the skin coloring, it was a different lineage, a different person, except for you could see us through there that it was the same. And he had lost a bunch of weight, and I think he tried to improve his health, made some concerted efforts. And I was like, dude, I said, Dad, you look younger than I do in this. Look at the mirror. We're both looking in the mirror. I said, look at this. You look younger than I do now. And in the dream, I was like, I mean, I knew that it was us in another experience. And it was just so cool because, it helped me to realize very palpably that it took the pressure off of this experience of having to get everything in now, you know? And it's really it just relieved me to feel me and him, one, getting along, and in another existence. I don't think it's past lives. I think it's all happening. There's no past. If you're outside of time anyway, I mean, how do you even look if you're looking at lives outside of time? There's no past, future, there's just lives. There's just experience. So in some other existence, he and I look very much like twins, except he was my father. And when he lost all that weight and done some really healthy things for himself, he looked my age or younger. It was amazing. That was what we were marveling over. I won't carry into the rest of the story in the dream because it's really not relevant to this. Merlin Art says, have you seen your human design yet? Apart from Master O, Ra Ura, whose visions coincide with Master O's writing of Path of Life. Anyways, Ra's human design is very insightful. I felt the guy, if that's who you're talking about, who put this together. And I moved into him. I felt his internal environment the best I'm able to do. I'm not claiming perfection, but doing what I do. I moved my point of consciousness in him and felt him, felt his life, felt what he could do, who he was. Again, the best I can do it, not complete. And I had zero draw, none, zero. Does he write cool stuff? Yep. Sound cool. Great how you put all this together, dude. I can see why people are loving it because people love to mentally masturbate. We are mental masturbators in the West. We will just pleasure ourselves in our minds and oh gosh, oh it's so good. But I don't give a shit about that. I want to know what is it doing. And every person so far that's brought me this human design thing who's been at it, and then I felt the guy who did it, I'm like, there's zero draw. There's no comparison in my mind of that guy and Master O. Master O is there's no end. He's so expansive, enormous. This guy feels like just about everybody else with a sprinkle of magic dust. So something's going on that's unique with him, no doubt. Wouldn't take it away from him. But for what I want to develop in me, there's nothing there that appeals to me. And nor is anybody who's doing it, who's been like, well, I'm at this, I've been following it, I'm a huge adherent of it. Have I felt anything that I'm like, cool, what do you have going on? Because if I did, because I've already done this many times in my life, if I feel something that I'm like, that, what do you have going on? I want to know about that. I'll do it. I'm not a only Master O. If it's not Master O, I don't go near it. That's called a cult. No thanks. So if there's something that draws me, I ask and I'll have you teach me, or how do I get involved with this? How do I bring that quality element into my life so I can integrate it? But with his stuff, nothing. Not one thing yet. It's another repackaging of things, but there's no power. There's no boom for me in it. Because if there was, I'd be all over it. But I don't feel anything for me. For other people, it may be life-changing. For me, no draw. So, and that's that way for me for a lot of things, which is why I left what I left. I'm like, dudes and dudettes, I'm feeling all of you. You've been to this whole Orthodox thing. Pick your Protestant flavor. You've been at it for how long? How many decades? And I know we're all frail and faulty and sinful and whatever else you want to throw at it. But I need to see and feel something there that shows me that the program is working. That it's creating massive change for the adherents of it. Now, if you're going to fart around and play with it, yeah, you're not going to get much results. Merlin Porter Arts. Is that your name, Merlin Porter Arts, or is that like your company? It's a cool name. Thanks for replying. I did my movie more today. Just when you're saying you fall behind on things that Angel doesn't make me think of. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could do better, and I do better now than I used to, but I may look like I'm not getting tasks done, I guess was my point, but what I'm doing inside, I'm always exploring. I just don't fit a good Western world of the checklist. She's better most days, but I'll tell you what though, I'm really big about energetically doing a lot of Qigong and stopping and doing it when I need it. And knowing where my lines are, because in my life, from my perspective, of course, what else would it be from? I am the lightning rod on the ground. I'm the one that takes care of everybody else when they get into a bind. That's my job. It's my job in my house for sure. That's my role. I am My job is to be the stabilizing force. So, it probably makes me look very inefficient at times, which would be true if you measure it in the things that I was describing of getting things done. But what I'm doing to make sure I can fulfill my role, I'm always on top of that and I'm always getting it done. I'm the one who bails people out. That's my job. I've got a great battery, but I've got to keep it charged up. Merlin Porter Arts. By the way, North Song says same here. Merlin Porter Arts, same here. My design points out. I won't fit in the normals world. Yeah, dudette. I'm not sure. Merlin, you feel like a guy, but I may be wrong on that. So forgive me if I'm calling you male and you're not. But yes, I've never fit in. I found out from like the 4th grade on. I had a file in school from 4th grade till I graduated because my senior year, the the guidance counselor in the high school, yeah, you felt like a bloke. The high school said, "Hey, do you want to see your file that's followed you all the way through your school career?" I'm like, "Yeah. What have you guys been writing about me?" And in there, basically, they call me the absent-minded professor from 4th grade. And so I was always marks of never getting things done, never getting things done, never getting things done, and always head in the clouds, doing something else besides their work, which was true. But I wasn't just spacing out and doing nothing. I was doing things. It just wasn't what they wanted to be done. So I never fit in. I mean, even in acupuncture school, I did not shine the didactic work. The first 2 years of acupuncture school, we weren't showing grades. You didn't get a grade. You either were proficient or you weren't. You passed the proficiency test or you didn't. I was passing the didactic work, but if there were grades given, I would not be the top of my class. I didn't get, in my mind, those kind of marks till we went to clinic, where we had to apply the stuff. And that's where I blossomed. And when I got out of there, because of Pongu Shingon and other training, I had from Paul Frazier and other people I got connected to, I blossomed because that's where I belonged. Because guess what I got out from? The confines of this is how you have to do this. Yeah, but what about that? No. Yeah, but could we do? No, you can't do it that way. But what if I feel that? No, you can't feel that. Well, I just feel like I'm handcuffed. So I didn't blossom until I got out from beyond that. And I'm still throwing off the tethers of my past trappings. I'm not done. I'm 53. And I'm shaking them off, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not there yet. But what I don't understand, and actually it's not even not I understand, it's what saddened me, is when people leave the organized religious confines and then they throw it all out the window. Well, this was a crapshoot, so I'm out. Okay, but they're like out, like this is it. I'm off to atheist land. It's like, okay, that's just because things inside of you haven't allowed them to come alive so you can actually experience the things that are going on all around you and in you all the time. It's happening all the time. And I feel like I'm probably in 1st grade at this point. I was in kindergarten until a couple of years ago. I hope I've graduated 1st grade. And I feel like that's where I am in my uncovering of all of my potential awareness of what's really going on. And I don't mean like world events and evil, nefarious, groups and that's not what I'm talking about. I mean like my ability to experience this life more fully and to be more fully human in my potential. I'm just getting started, which is what kind of pisses me off. I'm like, well, if I live to be 100 plus, that's kind of sucky. I need at least 300 or 400 more years. If I'm upset about anything, it's not. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to get through all this and experience what I want to in this particular incarnation. Merlin Portal, yeah. North Song. Minds that operate intuitively have difficulty focusing because we focus on everything. I lot of truth in that. But I mean, that's why Angel and I work so well. When I met her, she helped wake my heart up because it was so shut down. And she blew it open. I mean, when I was at that concert experience at that Gibson guitar shop there in West Nashville, Tennessee, and there was a little performing arts center back behind there, and we were all invited to watch one of our mutual friends perform. And I didn't know her that well at all, and she's in the audience there watching, and then my chest feels like my sternum is being having all the rib heads pop off the sternum. That's what it felt like. I knew it was from connection to somebody. My heart was coming. I was like the Grinch. It's growing, and now my eyes are leaking. And my heart was like blowing up because I had somehow, on some unconscious level, tapped into her, and she tapped into me, and everything. It was like paddles, and I had the current wake me up. And so then things started changing very quickly because of her, and it never stopped. I mean, we've been together for what? It'll be 12 years this coming this fall, I guess. I think I'm right on that. Origin 7. And if I haven't seen her if she goes on a day trip, goes get her hair done and comes back, and I get next to her, I mean, everything inside me just starts the same sensations that when I met her. Like it never stopped. Like I get close to her, and everything just starts coming alive, and I just feel more alive than probably ever. And so she was instrumental in my life in all of this waking up, and she holds my feet to the fire, and she's an exceptional human being. And we do balance each other. We dance quite well, and because we understand more and more all the time my strength in my areas where I'm not so strong, and same for her, and they happen to complement. We're good polarity figures. We're explosive in our dynamic. The yang and the yin dance that goes on inside of us and together is profound. If that energy can be aligned and focused towards trajectory and movement, it's a powerful force. If it's not tended to in that way, it could blow everything up and blow us up. Could blow our relationship up. A lot of you have those kind of relationships. It's often why they don't work when they're not working is because you're not understanding how to dance and to harness the power you both create when you come together. And that alone, I can feel happening everywhere around me. That's why I can't go, well, I've given up organized religion, therefore none of it exists. There's nothing spiritual at all. There's only this life and this life only, and my mind and my experience, and all that will die with me, and nothing will carry forward, even though I probably believe that energy never ceases to be, and I am energy. I know that from quantum physics, what I understand about it. Therefore, I should continually exist. But I don't want to think about that. Let's not go there. That means I have to re-examine my whole atheistic position. Yeah. Merlin Porter Arts. Great relationships, especially lovers that can do such wonderful things for our energy. I'll give you one more that may blow your mind if you've ever sensed into him. Bapak. Ooh, now that's much more interesting than the previous dude. That's much better. That one, more interesting. Much more going on there, at least that I have any interest in. Again, I don't feel that ocean of just freaking blow your mind energy expansion. But if this person is this person, I'm not going to guess. What country and culture does that person hail from? I'll let you tell me. And if it's what I think it is, it's typical. Because from this culture I think this person might be from, I often will feel the magic in them, like there's a lot of magic going on. But when it comes to that Mastro expansive, just fill up the earth type of energy, I've never felt it one time. Well, it's not what I thought you were going to say. I can feel the energy of the magic of it. And that's usually what I have to, how do I phrase that? That's usually what I feel when people are exceptional in their development, is that, which is I'm giving credit to this person to have been exceptional. They'll be I can feel this beautiful creative energy that's just really alive. But I don't understand why they rarely have anything that has that massive expansion like a Master O. There was, I think it's Spring, is it Spring Forest? I think it's Spring Forest Qigong. The current person that holds the torch of Spring Forest Qigong, not impressed. Not at all. Nor have I felt anybody who does Spring Forest Qigong that I'm like, wow, what do you have going on? Not one person. But like maybe it's the one before this one that's holding the torch for Spring Forest, or the one before that. It's the one that was alive and treated Mao Zedong. That particular master treated Mao Zedong. And Paul Frazier, knowing he knows what I'm feeling for, I think, and he sent me a picture of this guy and he goes, feel this guy. And I didn't know who he was. I said, whoa, dude. That's one of the most impressive people I've felt outside of Master O. Who is that? And he goes, ha, that guy treated Mao Zedong back in the day because Mao knew that he was freaking powerful, and he was, I believe, the Spring Forest Qigong lineage. And then we talked about it. We texted back and forth. I said, what happened? Like after that, dude, the other people that carried the torch for Spring Forest Qigong, not even close. I mean, nowhere in the same ballpark. What happened? How come that didn't get passed? And it didn't. It's like whatever was there just never got passed along to the next torchbearer. And that's what I feel from people, and I'll just go ahead and say it, from India, Pakistan, any of those places, Indonesia, John Cheng, which was his Americanized name, I'm sure. John Cheng, who's Chinese, who ended up living in Indonesia, I think large part of his adult life, and I think he died there, was of the Mopai tradition. And they were very powerful practitioners, and they could produce like electrical current. They could set things on fire. And the stories of the things they could do, which I never saw, but the stories were even more fantastic than that. But you can go online and see John Chang, Chang, and watch him set things on fire, touch people and powerful current causing muscular contractions. He could cause bone spurs to disappear by using that current to basically, I guess, eat away the bone spur. I mean, amazing stuff, right? Yet the energy he had cultivated couldn't treat cancer. Couldn't treat cancer. What he cultivated was not of that nature. So when we're talking about the cultivation of life force, different practices cultivate different aspects of the infinite potential spectrum of energy. It's not all the same. I've heard people say, well, life force is life force, Keith. It didn't really matter what you're doing. It's the same stuff. I'm like, that may be true, and I suspect you're right. But however, as it passes through a human person and through the coloring of that person's existence, it does tend to change how that energy of that yuan qi, that basic energy, how that is then colored and tailored for a certain purpose. So the intention of what you're cultivating makes a big deal. That's why when Master O made Penggu Shengong, God spirit work or cultivation, why that was so different was because it was Master O going, well, here's the deal. God came to me as I was an atheist in prison at age 26, moved into my body, wouldn't leave no matter how much I begged, and said, I am going to absolutely transform you by the tempering of your heart and soul, specifically the agonizing tempering of your agonizing heart and soul. That's what I'm here to do. I'm never leaving you. You can't get rid of me. And you're going to then take this example, because he's a man of few words, unless he's lecturing, but he's usually a man of few words. He lives it by example. If you can feel energy, gosh, you can't deny it. That's who he is. He is a constant living example of the tempering of the heart and soul. So Merlin Porter Arts, it's interesting. I guess you're looking for a certain energetic fullness and expansiveness. I wonder if there's other qualities you could miss. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, are you kidding? Of course there are. There's other qualities I'm sure I'm missing. There's other qualities Master O has that I'm not acknowledging just in the one person that I most admire in their development. I'm missing a lot. I guarantee you I'm missing so freaking much. Thanks for being here, by the way. This is the first time I think we've spoken, and I really appreciate you being here. That was fantastic. And yeah, they're just my thoughts. Merlin Porter Art says, carry on the chat another time. Thanks, great to hear your thoughts. And that's all they are, ladies and gentlemen. It's just my thoughts. Just all I have is my experience. That's it. That's it. You've got yours. The one thing I'm going to leave you with, because it's the top of the hour, and I treat a whole group of people in about an hour. My point of this video, my point is really this. If you have left or are leaving organized religion, you're done, it's burnt you, or you're just walking away because it's got nothing left for you, but you're not particularly angry, whatever your reason for leaving, don't throw it all out. Don't throw the pursuit, Oh, well, cool. I'm sorry. Were you going by this call name, Merlin Porter Arts? Were you going by this name while we talked to Mester? If so, I'm so sorry. I've forgotten. I apologize. But what I was saying was, don't throw it all out. The ability for all of our senses to be reactivated inside of us. Boom, look at that North song. Humanity needs to be activated. How you like that one? I said activated as you typed it and put it on the screen. So we need to be activated, North Song, so that we can have a fuller and richer experience in this life. We must. Otherwise, it truly does feel like we're living a two-dimensional existence. Like there's no depth. And it can be so much more than that. Since things have been awakening, and I'll give this practice of Pongu Shingon the credit for a lot of it, that and then the non-moving and advanced forms of it, that same school of Qigong, it's served a huge, huge role in that for me and my desire to do so. And it's not going to stop. North Song David Martin taught me that. Well, of course. Okay. So yeah, it's the activation of all of us, the parts that have been anesthetized. Or maybe we came in, some of us, without some of it being activated. But those need to be brought online so we can have a richer experience, so that we can experience all these trillions of bits of information and not screen them out. Hi, Caroline. So thank you all for being here. Top of the hour, a little past. And I just wanted to say, don't give up. If you've left organized religion, thinking about it, there's so much more outside of it. You don't have to go a new age route. You don't have to hop out of one confined box into another nuttier, I'd say in some ways, confined box, because I'm not a new ager. I don't fit the bill. Okay? It's just not my thing either. I want to have experience that's mine, not somebody else's, because I don't own that. Have your experience. Seek to have your connection. Ask to have the connection, and then just sit back and be yin, be receptive, and feel the response you get. And do that over and over and over again. And let that experience data bank grow outside of the confines and definitions of some governing body. Thank you all for indulging me for an hour. Talk to you soon.